Hi, I made a website that allows you to view certain locations in Zelda Breath of the Wild similarly to Google Maps Street View. It all started when I thought that it would be really nice to be able to contemplate video game maps, as some of them are really breathtaking. I had two options to achieve this goal. The first was to do a game of some sort where the player could just roam through maps of various games. However, this required me to use game assets, and as you know, assets are copyright protected. If you'd like to see what it would look like if I had taken this option, there is a website called noclip.website where you can visit video game maps from older games. It could be a matter of time before they get a takedown notice, so maybe you should hurry up. Now, the second option was to do something similar to Google Maps, where user would select a location and enter into Street View mode, where they could see the place in something that looks like a 360-degree picture. I chose this option because to my understanding, using screenshots of games wouldn't cause copyright problems. Okay, so I needed to understand how Google Maps Street View worked if I wanted to apply it to video games. To prevent myself from overscoping this project, I decided that I would focus on one game. The game I chose was Zelda Breath of the Wild, because of its huge, visually pleasing open world. However, I can now apply what I learned from this project for other games, and I'm sure there are other worthy titles. The main thing to understand is that those 360-degree pictures you can view in Google Maps Street View are many images stitched together to give what is called an equi-rectangular image. This equi-rectangular image is applied as a texture of a 3D sphere. Now the camera from which the user will see the scene is placed inside that sphere. This will give the impression that the user is looking at a 360-degree image. It was now time to start coding to make the Street View viewer, and it was extremely frustrating. Not only did I have no experience with 3D graphics, but most importantly, the tutorials I found on how to do stuff I wanted were poorly translated to English from Chinese, and the code didn't even work. After doing many Google searches, I started to get an understanding of the domain I was working in. This is how I came across terms like equi-rectangular image and panorama viewer that would direct me to a simpler solution. I came to a realization that you don't know what you don't know. It's by using those terms that I just learned in my search queries that I was able to discover that I didn't even need to write my own panorama viewer because someone else already did the job. Introducing Panelum, which is a lightweight, free, and open source panorama viewer for the web. With this, my first problem of replicating Street View was done. Now, the second challenge was to actually make those equi-rectangular images from landscapes in Zelda Breath of the Wild. Let me explain real quick how you can make an image like this. You need to take many screenshots while rotating your camera around 180 degrees and then do the same 45 degrees up, then for the ceiling, then for 45 degrees down, and finally for the floor, while not moving your character and in first person. You also need to get rid of the UI elements before taking the screenshots, and they must overlap at least a bit between each other. Okay, but wait a minute. How did I get a first person view with no UI in Zelda Breath of the Wild? Well, I had to use Semu, which is a Wii U emulator, and install mods that allowed me to play the game in first person with no UI, and I also had to freeze time and change the weather to make my screenshots consistent. Anyway, once you have your screenshots done, you install a program on Windows called AutoStitch and let it stitch everything together. All the tedious process that I just described is not necessary if you have a game supported by NVIDIA's Ansel, which takes 360 degrees screenshots for you. So I had to do this for many locations, and the result was not always perfect, but it'll do. The third and last challenge was to get some kind of map of the game. I wanted to build a web interface where you could select a location on the Zelda Breath of the Wild map, and it would load the street view much like the behavior in Google Maps. Here again, I thought it was going to be hard and frustrating, but luckily, software developers who came before already had the job done with a library called Leaflet. Just a quick reminder, a library in software development is a bunch of code written by someone else that you can reuse. So, I went to Google Image and found this nice high-resolution map of the game and used it in Leaflet. Finally, The one thing I had left was to create the website's UI and make the code that loads the location data for each hotspot on the map and handles user interactions with it. Now, when the user clicks on a location, the map disappears and is replaced by the panorama viewer. I also added a button to go back to the map to select another location to visit. Voila! The project is ready and is now available for all to try. Go to the link in the description below to access it. I